On today's episode, we're going to talk about the big win against the Brooklyn Nets and Zach LaVine scoring 20 points in just the fourth quarter. We'll get into all that and more right after this.
Yeah.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in, Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Pat, you made a big prediction before we even got to this game in the prediction show. And that was that Steve Nash. We could call Steve Nash to get fired. Well, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
Steve Nash said, even before you get a chance, I'm up out of here. Steve Nash got removed as the head coach before the game even started, but that did not change the result at all. You did make another prediction of Vooch going for 50. Vooch looked at you and said, hey, man, no.
Hey, not a 10. Not even going for 10. Not even going for 10. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, in this game, though, we get every Bull starter except Vooch going in double digits, and a huge performance as well coming off the bench from Goran Dragic. How'd you feel about this game, Pat?
I think that there were some things that concern me, but there was more good than bad in this game, and that's the part that I like, right? I think when you look at that first quarter, first good. Let's start with the good here. Close quarter. That's been something that we have not done most of the season up to this point. That first quarters, normally we are down 10 to 15 to 19 points. We kept it close. I like that. The things that concern me a little bit early on in this game, though, I mean, just really when the Bulls were the team with more rest, the Bulls were the team that had more, just looked lethargic on the defensive end for a good majority of this game. Was not rotating out to the corner, was not getting out to put a hand in people's face, right? So I think there's a lot of up and down there, but then at the end of the day, right, when you've got Zach LaVine finally getting himself going and cooking in that fourth quarter, with 20 in the quarter. He was 5 for 11 from the three-point line, by the way, and absolutely just showing you that no matter where I'm at on the court, I'm going to be able to put a bucket in. Those are the moments that you pay Zach LaVine for. Those are the moments that make Zach LaVine a $200 million player. I do have some concerns kind of how the beginning of the game starts, and we've seen that a little bit with Zach here. We had a debate this week as well, but overall, right, at the end of the day, Zach LaVine putting the team on his back, getting the job done, that's what I like.
Yeah. For sure. And another solid game. It was not passive P tonight. We got a P. Will game tonight.
Absolutely.
Especially in the game where Vooch didn't have it scoring-wise. Nick Claxton really played in good defense on them. And the one thing that I think we both may have overlooked in you know how they played with size is they moved Kevin Durant to guarding Nikola Vucevic, which proved to be kind of difficult for Vooch at times. So, you know, outside of
weird.
Vooch,
he was moving them. Like, just turn around and put the it was irritating me all night. Yeah. It's like he bumped Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant literally went, so he's going the other way. No more.
But they also were collapsing on
They
him.
were collapsing. They were double teaming.
The Brooklyn Nets really did not want to let Vooch go off this game, but P. Will 5 for 10 in this game, 0 for 3 from three-point range, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks from P. Will, and 12 points. But the one that's going to be overlooked in this game, and honestly, if you could tell he had an impact on both sides of the ball, but Ayo Dosunmu with 17 points in this game, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals in this game, the highest plus minus of any Bulls player tonight with plus 12. The job that him and Alex Caruso did on Kyrie Irving this game, who didn't score a point until the fourth quarter, and then he only ends up the game with 2 for 12, has to be talked about as well.
No, Ayo Dosunmu, I think, right, like when we talk about players taking a step. By the way, I seen somebody in your chat trying to get us against each other. We're not going against each other, but he's wrong. But anyway, when we talk about players taking a step, right, Ayo Dosunmu was taking that step. we can attribute a little bit of this game to the fact that Kyrie Irving did play a game last night, that Brooklyn played a game last night. Or we could be total meathead and say that Ayo Dosunmu shut down Kyrie Irving. Take whichever one you want to go with, man. I like to go with the latter. I thought Ayo did a really good job defensively on Kyrie Irving in the time that Kyrie was out there. I thought he made Kyrie work for a lot of his buckets, made his life a little bit harder to the point where Kyrie had to start passing the ball out. You took out a player that has averaged 30 points per game every game this season. Yeah. That's a major step by Ayo Dosunmu. And then on the other side of that, Ayo being aggressive to the rim, am I the only one that's a little bit surprised by that?
Bro, I don't want to say
he's really good at it too.
I don't want to say who he looks like.
Do it. Don't you put that on me, Ricky.
But that going off one dribble with one long stride and the up and under, that looks like somebody. That looks like an old Bulls point guard. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'll let the people figure it out. Now you talked about
Walt Lemon Jr.
Mac McClung. But without that being said, you talked about Ayo's defense. I want to talk about Caruso's defense because there was a possession, and you could tell it frustrated Kyrie that Caruso put them clamps on Kyrie. He passed out of it and called for the ball back thinking, oh, no, I'm finna reset and go at him. And Caruso put the clamps on him again, and you could tell Kyrie was just like, hey, what?
Yeah, he was trying to go at him. And I think the thing was, right, like to me, that you could tell Kyrie was off his game again, whether you want to say it's the second of a back-to-back or not. He played 33 minutes tonight, 4 points in the game. 4 points. I don't remember. Like, I think Kyrie Irving scored 4 points while he wasn't playing on the team. I don't remember a game where Kyrie Irving just scored 4 points. So 4, 7, and 6. Bulls made it tough for him. And here's another part that I think excites me and it irritates me at the same time. But maybe it's just because my mindset might still be a little old school with it. But when I look at a game like tonight, right, this is another game where you saw situational defense pop up. The Bulls didn't play 48 minutes of intensity. The Bulls came out and they gave you, hey, we're going to try to score the ball. We're not shooting the ball very well. We're not closing out very well. We're struggling here. But when they needed to take that, I mean, literally from the third to the fourth quarter, it was just, hey, what we got? What happened?
I got the church finger up.
Oh, what's going on?
Guess when's the last time Kyrie Irving only scored single digits in a game?
How
long do you think it's been?
I wouldn't say it's been that long because he's had injuries that have been very early in games. So I would say probably the Cleveland Finals, maybe the first one.
You're going way too far back. Last season against the Chicago Bulls, you know who guarded him that game?
Oh boy, are you telling me Ayo Dosunmu?
January 12th last season, he went 4 for 10, only scoring 9 points.
But he was just getting back. He was just playing. Man, I ain't got a lot of kids in the league. Ayo doing another great job on Kyrie, man. You can't say enough about it. And I think the Bulls did a good job switching off, like you mentioned. Alex Caruso doing really well on Kyrie throughout most of the game. I think, right, that's kind of a pick your poison. You feel like you have really good defensive guards on this team, and I think that the Bulls do. There's nobody in the NBA to this day that can stop Kevin Durant except maybe Kevin Durant if he just decides not to play that day. Like, Patrick Williams played perfect defense on Kevin Durant for a good chunk of the night. And Kevin Durant was just like, do you know my name? Because I'm Kevin Durant. So I thought the Bulls did as good as they could in the third and fourth. But again, right, like, I think that the one thing that I would like to see is I don't need 12 minutes a quarter of that level of defense. But the part that concerns me is that we're really only getting one half, maybe one quarter in games of that level of defense. And that's the part where I'm like, all right, dog, like, show me this in the first, show me this in a little bit in the second, not just the third and the fourth.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. We do need to have the 4 quarters of intense defense. The team hasn't quite gotten there yet, but better first quarter in this game. We also are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the NBA as far as offense. that also got rectified in this game. We had a lot of good things to build on in this game going forward as we look to get some players back. And it was really good. I won't lie. It was good to see Zach LaVine be the one to close out this game. As much doubt and things that people have thrown towards Zach as far as being the $200 million player now, it was good to see him step in, put the team on his back, and say, hey, listen, I got us tonight. And then even the jaw jacking and a little bit of crap talking, looking directly at Kevin Durant.
What did he say? What did he say? I thought
he said, "This is my something. This is my something."
I saw "This is my something," and I was like, I don't know if I want to pick that fight right now, Zach. Like, you cooking right now, but maybe relax a little bit, brother.
Well, we'll see. Next up, we'll talk about some more of the performances in this game. But first, I got to talk to you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting football and the start of the NBA basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insight only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Dun, 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 dun. All right,
we doing that? We bringing that back for that?
Hey, we haven't had a Rock Auto ad read all week, so I got to bring in the dun, dun, dun. I miss it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Not even gonna lie to you in this game. All right, bro. So we talked a lot about the positives in this game as the Bulls prepare for a hellacious, if I can get my words together correctly, a hellacious stretch of games coming up soon. Really, from Friday until the end of November. It's a murderer's row of games for the Chicago Bulls. What were some of the things that concerned you the most outside of the lack of defensive intensity? What are some other things that stood out to you as far as concerns in this game?
I think just the continued moments of offensive drought. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen that a couple of times throughout this season, and if we're being 100% honest, right, like we saw that last season. And the good thing about them is, right, like they can send teams into a little bit of an offensive route as well. But they really, they have moments where they couldn't hit a bucket in the ocean. Like, and those are the moments, right? And I think that the weird part about it is, right, those are the moments where it seems like P. Will's taking the most shots. Io's taking the most shots. Kobe's taking the most shots. Kobe didn't play tonight, of course, but the guys that you don't want taking the shots. And it's like, hey, Zach, not for nothing. And then when you get a Zach LaVine shot, right, it's him walking into a three with 23 seconds on the shot clock and he just pulls that mug. And it's like, that doesn't help us right now. Like, yeah, if you knock it down, it's great, but it's not helping the moment. The Bulls got to cut those down as far as few between as they can, right? Because those are the moments, right, where you see the Bulls, where you see Billy Donovan kind of go into, okay, yeah, we're not scoring. We haven't scored for 3 minutes, and that's my offensive unit. All right, let's get Caruso out there. Let's get Patrick Williams out there. Let's get Ayo Dosunmu out there. Let's just try and run some defense to get this thing back in order. So for me, right, you got to get that. You have to cut down. You're going to have offensive droughts. Other teams get paid to play defense. Sometimes you just miss shots. But you have to cut that down. It shouldn't be. I mean, we've seen that probably, 4 or 5 times in the first 8 games of the season?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I hope that they tighten things up like that. For me, one of the biggest things that I was concerned with this is that I understand the power forward by committee, right? And even though that it seems like Patrick Williams, he's now got back-to-back 30-minute per game, the lack of size at times out there is clear and evident. And I would say this
I say absolutely.
And as we go further into the season, I'm just worried about that lack of size eventually catching up. And I guess we're gonna find out real soon if that lack of size, how much that's gonna hurt the Bulls. Because, like I said, murderer's row of games. I'm gonna read this to you. After the Boston game on Friday, which we know they're missing their starting center, so size there. But Toronto, New Orleans, Denver, New Orleans, Orlando, Boston, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's all the way. That takes us all the way through basically the end of November.
Now, I will say is right. We didn't complain as much about the lack of size
With
when
Drummond.
Drummond was healthy.
That's true.
So there's kind of that as well. But I think the question mark for me, and it might even be a point where that nobody's really talked about, like, are these big men that bad, or does Billy Donovan really just want to play a small ball lineup?
I think
Because
they're that bad, bro.
they could be right, but we have seen none of it. We've seen none of
We
Marco.
saw plenty of it last season.
We've seen. I mean, listen. I'm not saying throw Tony Bradley out there, but I'm saying right, like you're not even going to any of the other options that they brought onto the team, right? Like I think that's the question mark for me. Like,
what other options, Pat?
You got Drummond, you got Tony Bradley. I get you don't want to throw him out there. We have seen none of Marco. Billy hasn't even called for Marco, and I get it. In the limited time, Marco looks mid, right? But like, I'm just saying when you get in these games where literally there's no size, Billy Donovan says we'll figure it out. And so I now it's like, okay, I don't know if Costas or that's the one we got, right? I don't know. Is it Costas? I'm not saying that they're the answer, but what I'm saying is that like Billy Donovan is like, y'all are so bad, I'm not even willing to try it. Like it'll make us so much worse. So it's like, is AK finding that big man that Billy Donovan feels like he can use? Or are we just wasting the end of these roster spots? We got 3 spots on the end of this bench. A big man that literally don't get ticked.
Costas, 2-way contract. He can only play in 15 games this season. So you're not really going to use him outside of injury.
Right,
so that eliminates Costas. Yeah. Marko Simonovic was already sent back down to the G League, but technically because of his contract, he can come up and down as much as they want him to, but we know the defensive ability there. Tony Bradley, I mean, listen, Billy Donovan gave Tony Bradley chances last season. I do think that this team, I know a lot of people, we passed that Game 6 date in which the Bulls can cut Tony Bradley and sign a veteran without going into the luxury tax. But I think they're going to save that maneuver for the buyout deadline, the buyout market. And that's maybe where we see them do something. I really do think AK and Eversley are going to take a look, evaluate this team. We're 8 games into the season. We're a 500 team right now. And really evaluate and take a look at what holes we need and then say, all right, who's coming down the buyout wire that we can then cut Tony Bradley and bring him in. But until that point is made, or until something happens to where they absolutely need another big man, we're probably just going to see him try to ride it out.
Well, I think that stretch is here, my boy.
I mean, well, as long as Drummond's back healthy, we're fine. If Drummond's healthy,
true.
We're fine.
It could that'll help us a lot too. But I look at those. I look at Marco who somebody in the comments.
hey, that ball boy is really tall. Like,
hey, Coach, he's on the team.
He's on this team.
Coach,
or is he on the Nets? He plays for us.
Coach, he plays for us.
Wow, that's Coach, exactly what Billy Donovan says every time he sees Marco.
Wow,
like he's Billy Donovan's literally like once. He's literally like, this guy pays a lot of money to follow us to every city we go to. Like, what is he doing? He must be a millionaire. Yeah, we're paying him millions of dollars, Coach, to sit on the bench.
I mean, and that's my thing, right? Like, AK has built this. Like, that's a joke, but that's legit. Like, I think that's a concern with some of the teams, especially when we get towards the playoffs, is you got dudes on the end of this bench that are just on the end of this bench making money. And I get, right, like that's what your end of the bench players are for.
That's every team.
True. But like, you realize you need that size. And the size is technically there, but not if you don't use it. So I would say, like, right, like if there's a player out there that maybe Billy likes more, who's a free agent? Dwight Howard. Why are we not, and I get it. It's early in the season and stuff like that, but clearly Billy's not going to use any of these dudes. Like,
he's not.
Billy's not going to. Billy literally was like, man, we need some more size out there on Joel Embiid. Derek, get up. Get up there.
Rose at that.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Jones Jr. Derek, get out there. That size didn't work there. Alex, get out there.
You remember the days where you're watching Bulls game and you can literally hear Tibbs yelling, Joe or Derek, like that's it. And like it's crazy.
No, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what the size does eventually. What they do, I do think they're going to eventually make a move. But again, look at the buyout move that they made last season. That Tristan Thompson did a bunch of nothing. He averaged 16 minutes a game to get caught up in pick and rolls the whole time.
That was a bad sign. That's the one thing, and that's the part, right? I think AK is great in the draft. I think he's really good at getting free agents in the building. at least what I've seen from one trade deadline, yeah, one trade deadline and a buyout. He was just held Kanye at only 4 points.
When did Kanye start playing for the Brooklyn Nets? That's wild.
There's a joke in there and another joke that's even funny. Shout out to them. No, but I guess the thing that I'll ask you kind of with this, right, is with this stretch coming up, how, like, I get, Zach LaVine playing off the second of back-to-backs and stuff like that, but we see that it takes him a minute to get in that rhythm at the start of games when he's got that time off. How do you keep him in rhythm if you're going
play
to have
him
those
12
moments?
to 15 minutes a game, even when instead of sitting him? That's the only thing I can think to do. Because at this point, I have to think it is just rhythm with Zach. He hasn't got a chance to really get in rhythm so far this season.
I agree. I have some issues on the other end of the ball with Zach, especially in this game, but I do agree that the rhythm isn't there. I think that, though, he takes, like, Zach's first shots of the game aren't shots to get him going. Zach's first shots of the game are like a half-court three. It's like, dang, dog, like, it was a hand in your face, too. Like, I put a little bit a little bit. I put a lot of it on the player, getting himself good shots, good looks and stuff like that. But I think, to me, right, like, the part that the Bulls got to figure out something to keep him going. They got to figure out something, because, I mean, like, he's going to sit this next game versus Charlotte. Fine. Okay. We should have enough talent to beat Charlotte. Charlotte has everyone in jail, literally. But outside of that, right, like, your next game is what? The Raptors twice?
Did you say in jail, brother?
Everybody's in jail.
By the way, did you record Lock On Now, by the way?
We'll get that in. But
it's your turn to do Locked On Now there, brother.
I did it last time.
No, you didn't. I did it last time.
I think we both sent the Locked On Now in.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I wonder that, right, because it's going to get to a point where the second of these back-to-backs, or even the first of these back-to-backs, are going to be tough games, no matter what. And some of these back-to-backs are going to be tough games, right? Like, you're going to play a game of Milwaukee and then Philly. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Going into the last segment for today, though, brother, I got to ask you this, man.
Let's do it.
We got to talk about it. I brought this up, and, I hate to bring this up on a win, but I just want to real quick talk to you about this, bro.
Let's do it.
What's the most concerning thing for you in Billy Donovan's coaching? Let's not talk about the players on the court, them doing things. What do you think what is the most concerning thing for you with Billy Donovan's coaching?
I think it's always been the same thing, right? Like, sometimes he just doesn't adjust quick enough. Sometimes he lets the players try to figure it out. And I think this year the players have done a better job of figuring those moments out. But I don't think anything's changed. I think he's always been that level of coach. He's always been the coach that says, I'm going to allow you guys to try and work through this because it's going to make you better in the long run. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Today it worked. It's always going to be adjustments for Billy Donovan. It's always going to be, and it's hard, right? Because you also don't want the coach that's over coaching. But I think at times Billy Donovan, in my opinion, I would say allows the players to do too much, and it leads to under coaching.
Okay. Fair enough. The adjustments, do you think they've been better in these first 8 games than what we saw towards the end of last season?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that Billy Donovan's rotations have been on point for most of these games. I don't think that we've had too many games. I mean, it sucks, right, a little bit more when you have a game that you lose to Joel Embiid, who I think now is Chicago's new nemesis. He might have taken over the LeBron role. He waved by in the face of a kid and tweeted out Aaron Rodgers on the pick after him hitting a game winner in a game where he was getting cooked, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy how much
talking trash on the cook.
Vooch was cooking you the whole game. Yeah.
But and here's the thing, right? I like this comment from Kyle Williams in the comments. He said, Billy doesn't strike me as a great coach, just a good one. There's more good ones than great ones. That's really what you hope that maybe he can turn into a great one by getting his players elevating his level, elevating their level, right? And all that works in itself. But there's more good ones than great ones. That's just what the NBA is. There's a lot of good coaches around here. How many great ones are there really in the NBA? I mean, we'll say Nick Nurse, and we'll say
Eric Spoelstra,
Kerr, and Spo, and Pop. That's it. I wouldn't say anybody else is great. I guess I'll say what's his name has a great legacy. I don't know if I can call Doc Rivers. I'll say he has a great legacy. I don't know if I can say he's great.
He has a great
overall
legacy.
He's got a lot of wins for me to say he's not a great coach,
Yeah.
but this season he's coaching more like a good coach.
Okay, that's fair. He may be on the hot seat. He may be up out of there soon.
Too. Hey, he might be.
Listen, I love Doc.
He might be handshaking with Nash in the unemployment line, bro. I'll ask you this too. With our concerns, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry. That's another conversation for another day.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say with our concerns around this Bulls team, and some of them even showing up in this game, right? Do we think that maybe Brooklyn just got a little bit of a boost based on the fact that Nash got fired today?
Oh, for sure.
That's why we saw them playing better.
For sure. You can definitely tell their team that was glad their head coach got fired. Now, Ime Udoka's coming in there. We'll see what he's able to do with those players. But at the end of the day,
no time,
bro, he's already interviewing prospects and not prospects for the team. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, if we weren't fired before that one, you just solidified it right there. Oh my God. Oh wow. There it is. Man. There's the one.
I should have thought about that before I said it, but
you know what it is. Brother. Wow. All right. Wow. I don't know how to move on from that. I have no segue. Man.
You know what? I think it's time to go ahead and shut it down. I think it's time to shut it down.
That might be the one, dog. You might have killed the whole thing. We was talking about coaches. We was talking about struggles, and we got the prospects. All right.
You got the prospects, man. I will say this. The thing that I think is the most concerning thing for me,
everybody in the chat is just wilding right now. They are losing their minds.
I think, honestly, the thing that's been most concerning for me and Billy Donovan, this is something I honestly just thought about last night, is that Billy Donovan really hasn't been in his NBA career a good coach at developing young players. He just hasn't been. And when you look at what AK and Eversley are doing, if they're not going to go all in, if they're not going to trade the young talent for veterans, then they're betting on the development of their young players really being what takes them over the top. And when you really look at it, but who has Billy Donovan developed in his NBA career? If any, like Patrick Williams is working himself out of it, but he regressed up into this point. You could say Ayo, probably Ayo's the best example of that, but Ayo being a player that stayed in college a long time, I'm resting that more on Ayo just being NBA ready than I am Billy Donovan developing him. Marco hasn't been able to get on the floor. Dalen Terry isn't getting on the floor. Kobe's regressed in some areas as well. That's probably the biggest concern for me when it comes to Billy Donovan. Just by the makeup of what AK and Eversley are trying to do with this team, that is he the coach that's going to develop the young players to get them ready once these older players are gone? And I don't know if that's going to be the thing.
I don't know about that. I mean,
who has he developed? I'm not even saying that to be to be combative.
SGA was there his last 2 years, wasn't he?
SGA, I think, only played one season under Billy Donovan.
I thought he played 2 because he played the year with Chris Paul, and then Billy coached a year after Chris Paul, right? Because he had just a complete young team. I might be wrong there. But SGA also turned into a heck of a player during that season as well. I mean, I would say I don't know where we – like, I get what you're saying, but, like, where do we give credit and take credit away from Billy Donovan, right? Like, Ayo DeSumo's absolutely developed into a player and has changed his game completely. We can take that credit away from Billy, but he's definitely developed under him. Baki, that's a good one. Dennis Schroeder turned into a completely different point guard under him.
Oh,
I guess kind of when
SGA did only play one season under
one
Billy
season
Donovan.
with Billy, so it was just that rookie year with Chris Paul.
Well, that wasn't his rookie year. That wasn't his rookie year. That was
our second year because he got traded there,
year.
right? He got traded there. Yeah. So just that second year with Chris Paul. I think Billy's good for development. Actually, I do, and I think even, I mean, he left after Chris Paul. Okay. I think even with the how he's handled Patrick Williams' situation.
Have you watched the last few games? P. Will Green deserves to. No, come on, bro. I'm sorry.
Forget the last few games last season. Green deserves to start. Okay.
Tell me you only watched the preseason without telling me you only.
You know what I mean?
Preseason.
But no, I was gonna say, didn't Lou Dort under him?
Oh, that's a good one.
Lou Dort got better. He did play well that rookie year, or that rookie year with him. I think it's his rookie. I don't know. But I think even just looking at the Bulls, right? Like, you look at how he's handled the Patrick Williams situation. Like, unless Patrick Williams came out this season and clearly, I don't know if it was something nagging at him. I don't know what was going on with him. But he looked like a completely different player tonight. And Billy Donovan took a drastic change. He literally said, "You're going to get 15 minutes."
For what, 2? Was it 2 or 3 games in a row?
Well, it changed, right? And here's the thing. Sometimes that's all it needs, but it changed not because Patrick Williams all of a sudden was dominating on the court. He was playing better, but not dominating. It changed because injuries took their toll. And that's the only time you realize you're going to get back in the game. That's the only time that Patrick Williams playing 33 and 38 minutes coincides with Io being out, Caruso or Kobe White being out, and Drummond being out. So you gotta have those moments where you step up, and I think that's a moment of, hey, listen, maybe you're not ready for this moment. We're not saying that you'll never get back in the game, but let's take a moment to breathe here. And Patrick Williams looks like he's come out, at least in tonight's game. Not granted, there's nobody on.
It's more than tonight. The last 4 games for Patrick Williams, he's put together a nice, solid 4 games.
Solid 4 games, and I think we've seen more of the defensive Patrick Williams that I think, to me, right, that's the part I want back. I'm like, don't regress there. Like, okay, you ain't scoring great yet, but I think tonight, right, like, tonight's the first night we looked at Patrick Williams, and he looked like he worked with DeMar this offseason. Patrick Williams' footwork was on point. How he hit him, he came up the court, or he got the ball off the rebound, hit a jab step, turn around, fade.
The hezzy on KD, it didn't go in, but the hezzy on KD was nice. I'm not
footwork
even gonna lie.
Though, right? Like the footwork, like it's the first night to me that he looked like he worked with DeMar this offseason. Outside of that, I've been like, this is the same dude, and he was more aggressive. Like, he was moving people out the way. Royce O'Neal almost died.
Listen.
Royce O'Neal almost died.
Shout out to Vooch for getting in Royce O'Neal's face too, by the way. Shout out to
Hey, bro, nah, stop with the Hey, nothing was gonna happen there. I knew that.
Oh, we know that.
I knew that the second Vooch got up. By the way, Royce O'Neal is the player that normally shouldn't score that hit his career high on us tonight, by the way. So 22.
Yeah. But at least if it happens in a loss, I don't care. Especially when you hold Kyrie Irving to 4 points. Somebody got to get off. They only scored 90 points as well, under 100 points from the Brooklyn Nets. Somebody got to go off. So
I was more concerned that Royce O'Neal was able to hip throw Vooch with such ease. I was saying, bro, you got come on, show me a little bit more here, bro.
Oh, man, that was funny. All right, bro. Let's go ahead and end it, man.
Let's get up out of here, man. Follow us both on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love, man.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. For Pat the Designer, this is Haize. This is Locked On Bulls. We out this mug. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Yeah.